depending on the importance of interdisciplinary and multidisciplinary research activities with available expertise and vast possibilities of research applications of nanosized particle, Syndicate of the University of Calcutta has established a Center for Research in Nanoscience and Nanotechnology CRNN in the year 2007. On the occasion of 150th anniversary of the University, Honorable Finance Minister, Government of India, MHRD, has sanctioned an amount of rupees 100 crores for the purpose of research in emerging areas of national importance under the wings of physical sciences, chemical sciences, biological sciences and technology. Recently, the proposal for inclusion of mathematical sciences is under consideration. The center has already provided and also like to provide and promote research activities along the following trajectory starting from 2010 up to 2023 and future direction for its improvement and sustainability.
Facilities at CRNN. The university facilitated the following facilities since 2010 to 2015 under the MHRD project.
Research and development of infrastructure for the growth and synthesis of electronic, chemical and biological materials.
Optical, electrical, magnetic and electron spectroscopic characterization facilities.
Fabrication of nanostructure.
Extensive computing facilities through the setting up of a computer cluster.
Funding individual mission-oriented projects.
Establishment of technology transfer mechanism by incubating knowledge-based enterprises.
Development of new technology for sustainable development.
Good afternoon everyone. I am Dr. Anindita Ghoshal, Department of Statistics, Sir Nivedita University. Today we are at the campus of Nanoscience and Nanotechnology in Research at Calcutta University. We have with us eminent Professor Bhumi Chatterjee, who is the Professor, Department of Geology, Calcutta University, and she is also CUBD Center of Excellence. Ma'am, we want to know some questions regarding BD. Ma'am, what is the scope of BD?
BD is a company. So this is it is a center of excellence which has been set up in collaboration with this company, BD Biosciences and University of Calcutta. So we have an agreement with them where we have this collaborative center of excellence which has been set up in this university technology campus, which is known as the Center for Research in Nanoscience and Nanotechnology. This center basically provides us with state-of-the-art instruments that are used widely in biological, biotechnological, medical research, and it mainly encompasses instruments that deal with flow cytometry, that is analyzing cells of different types, a little bit of microscopy, and mainly quantitative and qualitative estimation of different kinds of cells. And it also helps us analyze different cellular processes. We can detect a diseased versus a normal cell using these kind of instruments. And it is very popular because this instrument is now medically extremely relevant because a lot of diagnostic centers also have similar instruments which they use for disease detection.
Okay. And what are its components?
So we have different kinds of instruments. We have a small instrument which, if you can focus there, it's called the BD Accuread. That is an analyzer. So when we talk of flow cytometers, there are two components. There are analyzers and there are sorters. So an analyzer will just analyze the cells, give you quantitative and qualitative data, whereas a sorter will not only do that, it will also sort the cells into different populations. So if you want to study multi-populated cells, you can actually separate each and every component and study each and every cell separately. So that is what this machine does, which is the BD Fax Aria. And this is a cell sorter, and it actually helps in it can sort 4 different populations of cells.
So how does it function, ma'am?
So basically any kind of flow cytometry, as the name says, flow and cytometry. So it is a flow system, so it's a fluidics, a lot of fluidics involved, and cytometry means it's a measurement of cells. So basically what it does, it uses a laser to identify cells. So we have a laser system, we have different types of lasers. So the more lasers we have, the more expensive the machine becomes. So we have different kinds of lasers which can identify cells, and then they can analyze the cells accordingly. And the cells actually flow through what is called sheath fluid. So that's the fluidics part of it. And finally, once the laser being identifies the cell, it sends a signal, and everything is recorded on your computer, so we can actually identify different kinds of cells, different populations of cells.
Ma'am, how it is related to nanoscience or other nanotechnology?
So, we use nanotechnology for in our purpose, we mainly use nanotechnology for either detection of a disease or for drug delivery. So we use nano-formulated particles where we sometimes encapsulate different drugs, and we introduce them in cells. So in order to identify whether my nanoparticle has actually entered the cell, whether it is being effective in my cell, whether it is being able to function as I want it to, so all that can be analyzed in this machine. So I can detect whether the nanoparticle is actually entering the cells or not, whether it is if I want to, like if it's a cancer cell and I want an anti-cancer drug to work, which I deliver through the nanoparticle, I would like to see if the cell is undergoing proliferation arrest, which my machine would tell me. If I want to look at other mechanistic issues which the particle might be doing inside the cell, I can use the machine.
Ma'am, how many modes are there in your?
So we have, this is one MOU that we have. So it covers the entire center. We initially started with 4 very high-end instruments. The BD Influx, the Pathway, the ARIA, but later, the demand for these machines became so high because this is one center that has been serving the entire eastern zone of India. So we have people coming in here working not only from our university, they are coming in from different colleges, other universities like Bardhaman, Kollani, Vishwabharati, from different institutes like CSR, IICD, Bose Institute, from Chittaranjan Cancer, from Tata Memorial, they all come. Even people who are taking care of stem cell banking, they have also been using these instruments. So the demand became so high that we started getting in more machines. So now we have the Pathway, we have a Verse. So we have a lot of instruments. Some of them, of course, their life is at the moment over. But there are other machines which are still working and very popular amongst users in the Eastern Zone.
Ma'am, what is your placement status now?
So, we have had several scholars who have used this facility. Most of them are either pursuing postdoctoral positions. Some of them have now been, they have jobs in different colleges and universities. And in fact, it is we are very proud that those people who have actually worked here, some of them as in the technical capacity, they are mostly working in different companies. They've been absorbed by BD or other companies where they have been given jobs in India and abroad.
Okay.
So they are now very well placed in terms of their experience and everything that they gain.
So, ma'am, what are the significant achievements in this field that you can have to mention?
So, since we are talking of biology research, takes time. It takes a lot of time to find a product. It takes time to make discoveries and actually implement it. So we have come to that, we have actually crossed that first hurdle. The main issue of discovering particles, studying the science, applying them to our systems, trying to identify diseases, trying to find drugs or compounds that could actually help in curing different diseases. Whether that is successful in our system, we mostly use in vivo systems or in vitro systems, which means either we work on cell lines or we work with patient samples or we work with animal models. So that is one hurdle which we've all crossed, and a lot of the research that has been done has established several particles that can actually now be probably taken for phase trials for human care. So we definitely have come across that first hurdle, which itself was a very difficult task if we didn't have this center at that time.
Okay, ma'am, what are your future plans regarding this?
Well, the major future plan is to keep this center running. That is very important because this center, as I said, does not only cater to University of Calcutta, it has actually spread its wings far and wide. So there are so many people and everyone gets help from this center. So we want this center to be running. We want to see this center grow in terms of getting more modernized equipment, because BD itself, they are coming up with new, more modern technology every day, which is going to help our science a lot. It is going to make analysis, detection, everything is going to be much easier once we get those machines. So we hope that one day we are going to be able to even upgrade the facility, continue the Center of Excellence, upgrade it and get new instruments so that we can do even better research from University of Calcutta in future.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Today we came to know lots of information about BD. I think it will help the students a lot. Thank you.
Thank you.
Today we have with us Professor and HOD, Department of Electronic Sciences, University of Calcutta, and he is also the coordinator of Clean Room and Electron Beam Lithography. Sir, we want to know that what is clean room?
Okay, fine. Clean room is basically an assembly. So where we are standing at the moment, it's a clean room. So clean room is a specially controlled enclosed space. And it has different classes where the temperature, the pressure and the cleanliness of this environment is controlled as per our requirement. So for example, when we are standing in normal atmosphere, there are particles, dust particles or other contaminants which will have a size ranging from 100 nanometer to 500 nanometer size. So as a result, those particles are not visible in the naked eye. And at the same time, whenever we do fabricate the nanostructures, quantum devices, their dimension is of the order of 1 nanometer. So the situation is that if we want to fabricate those structures in open air, then a single dust particle which is not visible to us, that can bury almost thousands of nano devices. So therefore, the nano or quantum structures and devices can never be fabricated in a common atmosphere or room. So that's why we need to create a special environment where those number of particles can be controlled totally. And it has different classes like class 100, class 1000, class 10,000, class 1 lakhs or so. So what is class 1000? If you take in an environment of class 1000 clean room, a volume of 1 feet by 1 feet by 1 feet, and if you count the number of particles in that environment in that class 100, then the particle of size less than around 200 nanometer will never be more than 100. So in normal atmosphere, the number of particles could be hundreds of millions, and it has a size distribution like this. The smaller the size, the higher is the number that is loitering within the atmosphere. So therefore, clean room is mandatory for the fabrication of nanoscale or quantum scale devices, and it needs special arrangement like this where we are standing at the moment. That is the clean room.
Now we are at the room, you can see that it is the heart of the clean room and also it is the mezzanine room of the clean room. So sir, we can see the different machineries are there. So what
Yeah.
are the functionaries of this component?
Exactly. So thank you for the question. Clean room, as we mentioned, it's a special assembly, closed room, and we need to wash the clean room by clean air only. So we need to generate the clean air for running the clean room, and it works on the principle of 24 hours, 365 days at a stretch. So the air that can be generated, we are standing at the moment, as madam was already asking, that it is the heart of the clean room. Yes, it is the air that is coming from the atmosphere, around 30%, and 70% of the air of this system is coming from the return from the clean room that we have already seen at the ground floor. So the mixing of these two air is coming at the input of this chamber. These are called the AHU, air handling unit. There are 9 air handling units for this infrastructure, and the input of this is first the air and then the chilled water. So if you see on the other side, we have 3 chillers where the temperature is maintained around 18 degrees centigrade. Sometimes it may need to 12 degree also. So those chilled water is coming up to the grid that is within the chamber. It's a copper grid. So those chilled water is passing through the grid, and the air that is coming from the chase area and from the fresh atmosphere, these two air will cross those copper grids. As the temperature is around 12 to 18 degrees centigrade of the grid, so air will condense. So some of the dust particle will also condense, and then it will follow to the second grid where hot water is coming out. It is there on the other side. So those cold and hot and cold, by this way, the excess moisture of the air is sucked out. So air is getting dry, and its temperature is also maintained as we required for the clean room. Normally, 4 parameters in the clean room are maintained all the time. Its pressure, its temperature, then its humidity and cleanliness. So that the 4 parameters we always need to maintain. The temperature and the pressure and its moisture, those are controlled from this individual AHU. So as the clean room got different areas which we see at the ground floor, we got class 100, we got class 1000, we got 10,000 areas. So different number of AHU air inlet will be given at those rooms through the high performance filter that are so-called the HEPA filters. So we are standing here at the mezzanine floor where we got AHUs. AHUs got 2 inputs, 1 input, 1 output, 2 outlets. So these pipelines you are seeing here, these are called the ducting. So the non-clean air is coming through the ducts, coming at the input of this AHU. It is getting processed, as I already discussed, layer by layer, cold, hot, cold and everything. Then the amount of moisture, pressure, temperature is controlled, and this is being pushed by the fan through the ducting layer, and the second layer of ducting we are having at the second floor, just down this floor, which we will see later. As we are discussing in the mezzanine floor, we could generate the clean air at the mezzanine floor, and those air, as we mentioned, had proper temperature, pressure and dust particle control and its moisture. Those air is passing through these ducting layers that we are seeing, and the clean room in different areas we got in the ground floor, these ductings are getting ended at different rooms with different HEPA filters. Different clean room area got different HEPA filters with numbers and also with different qualities. And also the ducting you are seeing here, this green color, this duct is a very special one because normally for the fabrication we need to use different types of gases. It is not all the time environment friendly, so the remnant of the gases cannot be exposed to the atmosphere in the environment, so we need to treat it after processing. Once it will come back to the environmental condition, then only we can allow it to go through the storm drain. So therefore this particular tube is responsible to carrying all the hazardous gases almost 40 foot away from this room, the particular region called scrubber, and in the scrubber these unused hazardous gases will flow from the top and it will be sprinkled out with the water that will be coming from the down. So it will continue for few hours, and the pH of the gases and also the liquid will come down to the normal level. Unless it comes down to normal level, we cannot allow those acids or other things to go out. So once it is tested by pH, then it will be out from the storage.
Now we are in the clean room. So now we are going to see the details of the cleaning room here.
Fine. So just we are now discussing about the clean room and how it functions. So let's try to see what the clean room systems the University of Calcutta has. So just this is the area lobby, which is of the order of class 1 lakhs, because we know most of the time we need to house equipments, we are load it, unload it, we do different types of gas inlet, outlet, everything. So therefore it's not of high quality class of clean room. And after that, this clean room center got two different components. The left hand side of me is responsible for the fabrication area, and the right hand side is responsible for characterizing tool. So just we will see in course of time that yes, in the right hand side we will be having the microscopy room, particularly the electron microscope, and MBE room, and one electrical characterization facilities. And on the right hand side we will come later is the fabrication areas where different equipments are housed. So please come in with me. So if you see this clean room, if you see the clean room, not only it is the clean air that is coming all the time, but also the floor is specially designed. Actually this floor at the underground, it has a chemical drainage system 3 feet down the floor, and then it is called the electrostatic vinyl flow. Means if you got any air or dust particle in your feet also, that will be sucked up, it will never come up to the height. So that is a specially designed floor area. So we are entering into the microscopy room, which is of the order of class 10,000 at the moment. And there are 3 microscopies, electron microscopes, where Professor Dipankar Chattopadhyay will give demonstrations. So as the part of the clean room, these microscopes are housed in the clean room because the students, the operators, Pratyush is standing here. So he is running the biochem system. So the point is that when the samples will have to load into the chamber, then we need to take it out from the boxes, we need to place it within the chamber, then we have to take it out from the chamber also. So at the same time, we will never allow the samples to be exposed in the open atmosphere or even at high temperature. So that's why these electron microscopes are also housed in this clean room, and class 10,000 is sufficient for that.
We can see our beautiful machine here. Sir, we want to know what is this, and please tell us the details of this.
Very good. Thank you. Actually, this is called MBE, Molecular Beam Epitaxy System. Epitaxy is a Greek word. Epitaxy means very thin. So whenever we see different devices, electronic devices that are within the chip, or even very optical devices, LEDs, lasers, so those are grown on a very thin film of the order of few nanometers. So this is the machine capable of growing films at the atomistic level. It can grow 1 atomic layer, 2 atomic layer, 3 atomic layer, and so on. So it is generally called the molecular beam epitaxy system. That's why it has 2 chambers, you see, because if you look at the periodic table in our chemistry book, so most of the semiconductors, what we leave the chip, that is silicon, that is from group 4 element. But for other devices like display devices, LEDs, lasers, or all the displays even on mobile phone, everything, these cannot be fabricated using silicon. So that's why we need a special type of semiconductors, compound semiconductors. Those are built up either from 3,5 group element or 2,6 group element like gallium arsenide, aluminum gallium arsenide, gallium nitride, this type of materials. So these 2 chambers are responsible for taking care for 2 different groups of elements. This is particularly for group 4 like silicon, germanium, and other type of group, and that one is responsible for growing 3,5 compound semiconductors. So my colleague Professor Anirban Bhattacharya is an expert of this machine, and he is also expert in 3,5 group materials, and I am expert in group 4 materials. So I am silicon and he is gallium nitride or gallium arsenide. So therefore this machine is working nicely, but you can say it's a very costly machine. At the same time, the running cost of this machine is also very high. And the total housing cost here, it was around 12 crores.
So we can see that we are in a different costume. Sir, which is the room?
Okay.
It is.
So the point is now here at the moment is class 1000 clean room. Actually, this is the real fabrication area. You see, it's a huge area. It is around 1500 square feet area. But it is unfortunate that if we get all the money, it will require around 30 crores to place all the equipment for processing. So whenever we go for device fabrication, we need to have different instruments. We did not have money, that's why we could not put all those things, but the infrastructure is ready at the moment. So now I am explaining you, if you see on the top, all these are the HEPA filters that I was discussing before. So air is coming as a streamlined flow. It's a very calm and quiet. And those are the chase areas where you can see that the air, here you can see that the air is coming and gradually getting out of this filter. So here we got very high quality filters, means the air that is getting generated at that mezzanine floor, that is coming through the ducting layer that we have seen in the second floor, and that air is coming and getting exposed to this clean room through the HEPA filter, and the porosity of the HEPA filter is such that it will not allow the dust particles to come in, it will be filtered out. And then clean room is such a thing that we are now talking, so we are also generating particles. Whenever we process the devices, we run different equipments. The equipment is also a dust generator. So all the time the dusts are getting generated. Whatever the activities we are doing, all the time the dusts are getting generated. So we need to suck it out all the time. It's a continuous process. So it is designed in such a way that our working table or benches will be around this height, arrive 2.5 feet to 3 feet high. So the air will come. Generally it is anticipated that the dusts will be generated at this height and immediately it will be sucked out. So it is that flow that is going on all the time. So I mentioned in the mezzanine floor that 70% air is getting returned, that is this air. And the remaining, because 30% will be lost because of this room and then leakage and everything. So 30% will be taken from the atmosphere and then it will be processed again. It will be pushed up accordingly and it will come down through this filter. So it's a closed system. This is called the chase area. And if you see outside the chase area, you can see a ducting here. You can see the ducting here. Yeah, so for each chase, there is a ducting, and that duct is going to the top mezzanine floor, this side. So that duct is going back to the mezzanine floor, so it is also carrying the air. So there is a pump, one is sucking the air, another is pushing the air. So the pump at the input of that AHU is sucking the air from here, and the outlet pump is pushing the air to go to this through the ducting and then ending up to this HEPA filter. That is the clean room and it is going on all the time. So dust will all the time it will be generated. You cannot stop the generation of dust, but what you have to do, you have to wash it out automatically. That is this class 1000. It is class 1000, that means if you take a 1 feet cube volume of any space in this room, the number of dust particles above 0.3 micron to 0.5 micron, means 300 nanometer to 500 nanometer, it will not come into this room. So that is class 1000.
How many users are there here since 2011?
Actually, it is very difficult to count. It may be few thousands because all the time, every day, you see one student is working already. So all the time, sometimes or someday it may be 10 people. Sometimes it is single, 2 or 3 people. They are all the time, every day. Even it is in Saturdays, even though it is a holiday, still it is open. So therefore, it is very difficult to give you a specific number. But as per my understanding, it will cross around 3 to 4,000 already usually.
How many MOUs are
Unfortunately, there is not a single one at the moment. There is no MOU. And definitely we are trying for it because actually this type of center, it is very difficult to run by a university. So different companies also approached us, but it did not practicalize because they also needed the instruments and everything to build up. Then they could give us through project that, okay, you develop for us as a R&D. And definitely we are trying for that and getting in short time.
students are actually want to know the placement status of this.
Yeah. Very good questions. As per my understanding, those who had their BTech or MTech or MSc project or even the research scholars, no one is sitting idly. Majority of them are in and abroad at the moment. Yeah. Abroad.
Sir, what if we are now means we are now in the end of our session. So we want to know that what is your future plan?
Future, yeah, definitely. Because as the time goes on, the technology is getting very much up to date, and for particularly the VLSI technology, it is called very logical integration and semiconductor devices. It is gradually getting shrink. Miniaturization is the driving force. So more functionalities, more number of components at the lesser cost, but at a faster speed and at the cost of low power. That is the motto. So what we are trying to do, it is a central facility, but our faculties are working in their department labs also. So whenever we feel that we need to use this facility, we are coming here and we are gradually updating it. And particularly as I have shown you the MBE machine in that room that can control the thickness of the epitaxial layer of atomistic level. Then I will show you the next machine that is called electron beam lithography, which I will show you the smallest ever structures that we in Calcutta University could fabricate. And future plan is that we are the university, so we are not here to do production, but we are the concept generator. So what we are trying to do here, we are developing concept, working on that, students are working on that, and this nano center is helping us for many years to prove the concept because it has the sophisticated instruments and the resolution that we can go at the level it is around 20 nanometer at the moment that we have in this system. So future plan is that we have to bring money more, we have to upgrade it, and we have to keep ourselves at par with the current edge technology, cutting edge technology that is going on around the world.
Thank you sir, thank you a lot, because students can get immense knowledge from sir's JFU, and we can also get a very much detailed information about the clean room. Thank you sir.
Thank you.
So we can see that we are standing in a different room, sir. So please explain what it is.
Fine, so this is the cleanest room of this center, that is so-called class 100.
Okay.
So it has around 675 square feet area, and if you see on the top, the entire floor is the HEPA filter. So it has an enclave, it is called, and it is ended up to the roof. So this enclave, we are sending air through the air handling unit, and it is creating a storm on top of this.
Okay.
After that, the air is passing through, and it is the best quality HEPA filter. So that's why the cleanest air is coming, and you see here, all the time the moisture is around 40 to 45%. It will never cross more than that. The temperature is generally 18 degrees centigrade, and cleanliness is 100. That means if you take 1 feet cube area in this room, then the number of dust particles with size only below 200 nanometer will never cross more than 100. So after building up, we have measured it. It was only 75 particles. So even it is better than the specified design. So the specialty of this room is that it is also called the lithography room. So lithography is a technique which is generally used to transfer the circuit onto the silicon surface. Because whatever we see on the book, those are the circuit symbols. The real device that will be built up within the silicon or the 3,5 gallium arsenide, depending upon the mainstream electronics or the optical devices. Correct. So, as I was mentioning, that as the technology is moving on, the scale of the feature size that is getting smaller and smaller. And nowadays, the people are developing devices whose size is sub-nanometer. So if you give a simple idea about a nanometer, what is this one and why it needs so much sophistication, you think about over here, and if you take the diameter of it, the diameter of here is 75,000 nanometers. Okay, so it is 75,000 nanometer, and the features I will show you here, 20 nanometer or 22 nanometer. Just now I will show you. So you can understand what level of precision we need, and to visualize and observe the structure, we need a special structure of the ground also. This ground is specially designed. This particular block is totally isolated from the main floor. So there is a trench here, and the trench is totally empty and full of gravel somewhere. So there is no concrete structure. And the trench has gone around 10 feet down. So it's a completely separated block we are standing on which this machine is there, because lots of buses, lorries, everything is going through that, so it is creating vibration. Even the plane is going on the surface, so it is creating vibration. So if vibration is there, we are talking about 120 or 15 nanometer. So if the vibration is of micrometer order, you will never grab the picture. It will be blurred totally. So it is a specially designed room and block also that no vibration is coming in. So that's why it is possible to take picture of that quality. Fine. And the room got another specialty, yellow color. There are another machine on that room that is responsible for photolithography. So optical lithography and photolithography. So it is the technique in primitive age, if you see about our analog camera picturing. So it was a cellular film, then picture was grabbed and then it gone to the dark room for developing. Or if you think about the print screen technology, it is the sophisticated version of that. So it is one type of thing that you need to cover the surface with some material. If it is sensitive to light, then it is photoresist. If it is sensitive to electron, then it is electron resist. In optical lithography, it is photoresist. And in electron beam lithography, it is electron resist, called PMMA, polymethyl methacrylate. It's a polymer. Correct? So whenever electron hit, then it will react with that and it will break the bond. And for optical lithography, if it is UV light that falls on the polymer photoresist, then it will dissolve in the developer. So it will do photoreaction. But that's why you cannot expose those samples after having photoresist coating in open light, because white light have all sorts of light wavelength, so it will wash out. So that's why particularly yellow light, it's a sodium wavelength, 5891 angstrom or 589 nanometer. That particular wavelength will not hit the photoresist. So that's why this room is called yellow room also. It is another room. In industry, they tell that it is yellow room means lithography. Okay. So now let's come back to this electron beam lithography. So electron beam lithography system, it is the second lot of batch they are getting trained. Actually, they are the third generation. The first generation, as you were asking, got job. He is running the Asian machine in cultivation after getting training here. The second lot, Actually, the guy is working in Sheffield University now, and because he knows this thing, that's why he also got postdoctoral position in IIT Bombay. And then within 6 months he got Sheffield, so he left and joined Sheffield. And this is the third generation; they are already trained and grabbing the pictures and everything. Nilayan Pal, he is working on quantum computing particularly. And Shubrata, he is the senior most in the group. He is working on material. And Bodhisattva Rai, he is working on gas sensing. And Annesha just started, and she is working on solar cell. So you now explain about this electron beam lithography.
Okay, so as sir said, for electron beam lithography, we are actually making structures which have sizes of around 20 nanometers to 25 nanometers. So for that, we are actually using electrons to develop the circuits. These are the structures that we have fabricated. These are quantum dots. So quantum dots on nanowatts. So each has size. This one was when we were actually optimizing the device structure, then we actually found the sizes to be around 50 nanometers. Okay. For that, what we do, so we have to prepare PMMA solution like this. So after that, we have to spin coat it on a sample similar to a photoresist. After that, we have to bake this. So there's a specific process to develop this PMMA, because if it stays as a liquid, then we cannot expose electrons on it. It has to harden. To harden it, we have to heat the substrate along with the PMMA so that PMMA becomes hard. After that, we have to load it in the sensor. Then we have to actually reach a vacuum of around 10 power minus 6 milliwatts. What makes this unique is that we can actually control the energy of the electrons coming in. So since we can control the energy of the electrons, and by the help of quantum mechanics, yes, so we can actually control the wavelength of the electron. So by controlling that wavelength, ultimately we are actually controlling the structure, the size. So these are the structures that we have fabricated. So these are quantum dots, patterned quantum dots. So pattern means they're in a straight line. Then we also try to fabricate nanowires. Please go back. These lines you are seeing, these are actually nanowires. The wires are on the surface. So this is actually our pattern.
Thank you, Sir, please explain the working principle of electron beam lithography.
Yeah, thank you. So electron beam lithography is a composite system. It has many functionalities at a time, and its cost is only 7 crores. Okay. So it has first one scanning electron microscope, and then it has an option that called FIB, focused ion beam, that can cut the semiconductor surface. It has another option that if I want to grow quantum or nanoscale devices, then it has its own deposition system. But if we can operate it, it can do localized deposition of quantum scale, and we can fabricate device in that. And also it has a setup that without taking the sample out of the chamber, we can do electrical measurement from external world, that they were showing that we are touching the nanowire or we are touching the whole everything. So what is had is that first a source of electron, that is called electron gun. So the electron gun emits electron. So here everything is being done by electron. So when the electron is getting emitted, so definitely they are emitted from the source and then they may diverge. So they need to focus it. So there are different lenses within it in this column, and these are the electromagnetic lenses, because we cannot focus electron beam other than electromagnetic field. So we have different control parameters to focus the electron beam, and by having this proper multiple focusing steps, it will hit to the substrate which is generally placed within that is shown here inside. That is this one.
Yes.
You can show the movement also. Can you show that? That the stage, there is a stage inside it that under high vacuum, that is around 10 to the power minus 7 millibar. So at that high vacuum, the samples are loaded and the stage can be up and down, and then the electron beam will have to focus properly. And those electron beams either can be taken to create images, those are the images you are showing, or it can also be used as a pen or pencil. So you see, it is moving. So whenever we are doing lithography, so the thing is that electron beam will be emitted from here and it will be focused, and then there is a stage on which the substrate or the sample will be there with PMMA coating. Then keeping the beam fixed, the stage can be moved, correct, according to the drawing that we will do in the computer.
Okay.
So first thing we have drawn here was the logo of Calcutta University. After installing the machine, the first thing that we could fabricate here, the logo of Calcutta University with only 3 micron size. So it was not visible in naked eye. Only under the microscope we could see it is a big size.
Okay.
So the electron beam will work as a pen or pencil. So then that will move onto the PMMA layer. As per the drawing that will be drawn here, we will supply it from the external world. So any type of drawing can be drawn on the PMMA. So where the electron beam will hit the PMMA, in those regions the PMMA will be broken, the bond, organic bond will be broken, and where it will not hit the PMMA, the deposited PMMA layer will be unchanged. So it will create a pattern. Where there is light, there is a beam, electron beam. Where there is no line, there is no electron beam. So after drawing it, if you place in the developer that Niloy was explaining, then the region where the PMMA was hit will be completely washed out, and the region where no PMMA got hit, that region will remain destroyed totally and untouched completely. So by this way, the same drawing as that was drawn on the computer screen will be transferred to the surface.
Okay.
So this is the way it is called the pattern transfer. So we can directly transfer everything from picture to the real material surface. So working principle, basic requirement is the electron beam, and it works on the principle of Louis de Broglie, because in quantum mechanics the Broglie wavelength was there. As the particle size is going very small, so it will behave like a wave. So that wave is being actually focused, electron beam wave, and that wave after focusing we are using it either for drawing or for reflected back scattered electrons for imaging. So that's the point.
Sir, some very silly questions. How many users are there since
Okay.
2011?
This is a very specially dedicated machine, so users number are not too many.
Okay.
People from cultivation of science we are using here, because this machine is only good or applicable for those who fabricate devices.
Okay.
In India, there are many material scientists, but device scientists, the number is very small. It's a small community. But still, some people from cultivation of science, some people from SINP, some people from SN Bose, our Calcutta University, 1 or 2 times from Jodhpur University, and ISAR,
Okay.
Calcutta. So they used many times, and because of COVID, we got some setback for around 6 to 8 months. It was shut down totally. So that's why after COVID period, now we started to develop it again. Now it is working normally, and those people are again contacting us whether we can do fabrication further. And also, it has the ACM picture capturing capability. So there are many users, those who are taking just the scanning electron microscope picture of their surface. So in that sense, I think at least so far 500 people used it already. It's a very good machine.
So how many modes are there?
Unfortunately, at the moment, no one, but ISAR tried, and it is in the process. And also cultivation tried once, but they got huge money, so they already bought another one. But the person who got trained here, he joined in their lab. So in that sense, MOU is in the process that those who are interested, including IIT Bombay contacted many times, Bose Institute, JC Bose, they are now creating a hub for quantum computing And we, that our team in Calcutta University, they are well accepted because of our fabrication capability and training. Because none of the other members in that team, J.C. Bose Institute, ICR Calcutta, SN Bose, SINP, Cultivation, Heritage Institute of Technology and Calcutta University, we are clubbed together and we have submitted one big project. So they will work as a hub, but the satellite work will be done in different centers. Our job here, as Niloy was showing, to develop quantum structures and quantum devices so that we can implement qubit, the basic of quantum computing. So that particular, this machine is, they are actually begging on this machine to build up their project. So it's a very good one, and if it is done, then automatically one MOU is already in line because the project is submitted.
How many PhD students have already been awarded from here?
At least, from only on the basis of this machine, 10.
Okay.
10. And they are all absorbed in different places.
Different places, okay. And sir, the last question, what is your future plan?
Our future plan is that as we are already looking for money, once you get it, then the moment target is to develop qubits. That is the first target. But other works are going on because we are not talking about those things, the simple device fabrication, PN junction, metal semiconductor junction, quantum dot fabrication. These are, we are very much confident we can do it within 2-3 days. But what we could not do it yet is that we could not generate 2 qubits to have a superposed state. So the next 1 year, our focus is to grow quantum dots side by side and then measure them and to understand their superposition and entanglement between the two neighboring quantum dots. That is our immediate goal.
Thank you, sir. Students get immense information from sir. Hope they will get benefited from sir's information. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, and thank you for your interest also.
Good afternoon, everyone. Today we are now at the room where we get the information for the electron microscope. Here we are actually aiming to interact with Dr. Dipankar, Dr. Parkar, who is the Senior Professor of Polymer Science and Technology at the University and who is also the Project Director of the electron microscope. But due to some personal issues, he is not able to join with us, but we have with us Dr. Sengupta, who is the machine operator of the electron microscope. Because we want to know about the electron microscope.
Electron microscope is a microscope where we can easily find which these types of sample which we cannot see with naked eyes. We know about the microscope, small things we can see the bigger. In this room, in CRNN, Calcutta University, they have a unique system that in this room we can find 3 electron microscope. One is scanning electron microscope, second is field emission scanning electron microscope, and the third one is transmission electron microscope. The 3 types of electron microscope you can see here. The first one is the small brother. We can actually, in our terms, this is the small brother, then middle brother, and the elder brother. Because this room is designed by this. In this ACM, scanning electron microscope, we can see small particle like 50,000x multiple. We can multiple it 50,000x. Then after that we use APACM, where after 50,000x, if we cannot see the materials properly, then we can use the field emission scanning electron microscope. They have a special field. That's why we can use it up to 1 to 10 lakhs, 1 lakhs to 1.5 lakhs multiple images, X-ray images. After, if you are not satisfied with multiple X result, then we can use the transmission electron microscope, where we can transmit the sample and we can see the Armstrong level of images. In here, show us the
3 microscope gradually, okay, one by one.
In older time there have 3 operator individually. I'm just only operator of biocell, only the scanning electron microscope, and the other 2 operator is not present today. I only use the SEM only, but this 2 instrument is more better than the SEM. It's the basic part of electron microscopy. After seeing the 50,000x, the normal characterization, how the sample looks, how the sample is, which is metal, there are a special parts that's called EDX, energy dispersive X-ray analysis, by which we can say which is element, suppose carbon, oxygen, nitrogen, we can identify by the EDX detector with this electron microscope. And in APSM there have a cathode luminescence detector by which we can measure the CL images. And the last one is a transmission electron microscope. We can transmit it, and we can see the inner morphology of the sample of any kind of nanoparticle, which structurable value and composites value we can easily find out. In our institute, there have more than 57 to 55 others institute come to us. They come to us and they get facility from us, and this is a huge demandable instrument in all over the West Bengal. And there have I can bet you that only CRNN gave the central facility in West Bengal now. The other institute not giving proper central facility. The other institute come and not getting the date, but in our institute they can easily get the date and they can easily easily get the facility from us.
Associated with your system.
Ma'am, Jadavpur University, Cultivation of Science, ISI, NTTR, there are lots of institutes come here, more than 57 to 58. No.
Thank you, Coach. Now,
There was
the supervision of Professor Dipankar Chakrabarty and in the Department of Polymer Science and Technology. Okay, Devasmita, I want to know that how this electron microscope is related with nanoscience and
because of the same we are able to view the structure of that material, and so we can from the EDX we can perimeter mapping, we can find out the elements present in that material, so it will be helpful in our work, and he is very helpful. We always have the date as we require. So from this
okay, can you please say me that what are the facilities in connection with the research field of nanoscience?
Making mopping project, so it is very helpful for all of the students if those are working.
Thank you very much. Can you please show us with a sample that how you use this machine?
Ma'am, actually it is a time-taken instrument. This is our sample holder. There are some little sample in dust materials which is based on polymer, which is created by Devasmita, the composer scholar. I already coated it. Before tested, I have to be coated it. Then we have a platinum coater. This is a platinum coater instrument. We coated it a thin layer up to 10 nanometer to 20 nanometer with platinum coated. Then we, because everybody knows that electron is very conductive materials, and if we not coated it as conductive metal, then the sample will be distorted. That's why we coated as platinum layer with 10 nanometer. Then I put it in our sample. This is our stage. This is our sample holder. We put it, you can see here also, in images that I put it the sample. Then I stopped it, and after that it's take 10 minutes time to create vacuum. Now this is bacterial sample I used in 2017. This is a hydrogel sample, and the next one is, this is snake tick, man. In snake's body there have a tick which is called snake tick. This is the images of snake tick image. This is called diatom, man. We all know diatom, the algae parts of the diatom's image. This is the images of rice insects larvae. This is the rice insect. We find it in rice, and this is nanoparticle, ma'am. This is pollen grain, which is state in flower. They have lots of sample, ma'am. I do. This is the cross-sectional images of stem, where you can say the xylem and phloem structure. Stem cross-sectional image. This is pollen grain. This is mango bud. Everybody eat mango. Mango have some bud, specific types of bud. This is called mango bud, ma'am. This is the images of mango bud, this face portion, and this is parasite. This instrument is called transmission electron microscope. You can see the inner morphology of any kinds of particles, which is made by carbon, oxygen, lithium, copper, gold, whatever. Which types of nanoparticle is and which is kinds of shape. It's hexagonal or normal, cylindrical. This is the instrument where we can see the Armstrong level of images. And the middle machine is called FESEM, Field Emission Scanning Electron Microscope. This is one of the scanning electron microscope where we can easily see up to 1,50,000x magnification images. Thank you. This is called ultra microscope. This instrument is used for sample preparation unit, which is used for TN sample preparation unit. You can take biological sample, we made it resin block, then it's started in 100 nanometer structure. This is called ultra microscope. This is model is like a system.
So I am talking with Professor Anirban Bhattacharya of the Department of Radiophysics and Electronics. He is a senior professor, and he is also a coordinator of the Center for Research in Nanoscience and Nanotechnology, and he is in the charge of molecular beam epitaxy system at CRNN, which is a center under the University of Calcutta. So, Professor Bhattacharya, I want to know what is the molecular beam epitaxy system at CRNNCU, and in what sense is it different from other ones?
And thank you for giving me the opportunity to present our facilities. Good. So basically, I was trying to talk about the three instruments which are under my basically which I'm in charge of, and they include the molecular beam epitaxy and the optical lithography system, as well as the darkroom and one of the X-ray diffraction machines, which is also part of the combined thing. So before we start, I just want to talk about one thing that will help in understanding the mechanism in which all of these systems work together. So the point I was trying to make is every work that we do focuses on semiconductor device development. So that is what we are doing. We are doing development of electronic and optical devices. So electronic devices are usually like transistors, integrated circuits, sensors, and actuators. They're based on silicon technology. And optoelectronic devices, they are light emitting diodes, lasers, photodetectors. They're based on gallium nitride technology. So if you look at the picture, the way it starts, all of them, they start with first deposition of layers of semiconductor materials, which, as you can see in the middle picture, on top of something called a substrate. And there are many such layers, and each of them have to be precise in composition and in thickness and in doping. And once these layers are deposited, then the semiconductor device can be fabricated from them. As you can see, these layers have been, some material has been removed in a process called etching, and then metal contacts are made of them for the final device fabrication. So once we understand this, then it is easy for me to explain the molecular beam epitaxy system that we have. So basically, when we talk about all of these layers being deposited one on top of the other, molecular beam epitaxy does the first component of the device fabrication. It is a technique for deposition of semiconductor thin films. It's a standard technique. There are two such techniques. One is the MBE, another one is called the MOCVD. MOCVD is more of a production system. MBE is more of a research tool. So these are the standard equipment used all over the world. And they are used for making semiconductor lasers, high power, high frequency transistors, and many other such devices. The important point is they have extreme control over the composition, doping, and the thickness. And the control of the system is at the atomic layer, so at the absolutely atomic monolayer. And it is necessary that the control should be at the monolayer. And this is our system. So the importance of this question, to answer your question, why is this system so important? It is a custom designed system which has two chambers. One of them is dedicated for gallium nitride materials. Another one is dedicated for silicon germanium materials. So at some point in the future, we should be able to integrate both electronic and optoelectronic devices on the same chip. And also there are other additional features which are built into the system. As I said, this was custom designed for this. This is unique in India, and possibly it's unique in the world, though you cannot claim it because we do not know all the systems in the world.
Okay. So then what are its compliances with nanoscience and nanotechnology research?
Okay. So in order to understand, molecular beam epitaxy is the industry standard for all nanomaterials and quantum structures. So if there are even within the nanomaterials, there are smaller structures which are called quantum structures, in which quantum mechanical rules play, and slightly larger than them, they are called nanostructures. So MBE produces, and we have produced. So now that we are talking about, we are not talking about vague what can be done, but these are the structures that has been produced in our CRNN MBE. So we have made quantum wells of gallium nitride. So that's the first picture that you can see. If you can see the various layers, they are quantum wells, and each of them are about a few nanometers wide. And then we have also made nanodots. You can see the picture on the top left, top right. You can see nanodots on the features, which are again a few tens and hundreds of nanometers. We have made vertical nanorod arrays, and we have made a lot of other structures which is very difficult to produce within this short time, but these structures have been employed in active devices. So I have two more pictures, and one of them is nano rods with quantum dots on top, and the last one is a stack of quantum wells which are shown. If you look at it very closely, you should be able to see individual atomic layers. These are electron microscopy, transmission electron microscopy pictures, and I have to, of course, give credit to our collaborators at Arizona State University who has taken the pictures, but of course the samples were grown by us.
Now, what are the facilities in connection with research field of nanoscience and nanotechnology, especially for the research scholars and PhD students?
Okay, so these are the facilities, and what I'm trying to say is it is not only the molecular beam epitaxy that is the facility. We have a system of several facilities, which are, one of them is the molecular beam epitaxy, and then we have the optical lithography, the picture of which you can see on the top. and this optical lithography system, there are 3 or 4 components. One of them is a mask aligner. You can see the student operating the mask aligner here in the first picture. And then there's a surface profilometer, and there's a laminar flow. So there are a series of equipment together. They make the semiconductor device optical lithography system. So this is necessary. As I said, you first make the layers, and then you devise the design. Design the device. You fabricate the device, and the device fabrication is done using the optical lithography system.
So
Of course, once you have fabricated, you also have to characterize them. So these are the characterization facilities. I'm showing you a picture of the darkroom, which also I'm in charge of, and it does all the measurements on these devices as well.
So how do they work together? I mean, since the instruments have different components, so how do they work?
Yes. So basically, it is a process that goes through. You first take the wafer and put it through the MBA system, grow the various layers on the MBA system, and then you take to the X-ray diffractometry to measure the properties of the layers, find out their composition, and find out their thicknesses at some point and number of layers. And then you take it to the scanning electron microscope to look at the surface images, as what I said. And then you go and do the optical lithography, which is in the class 100 clean room, which is next door, where you can fabricate the devices. Not all of the processes can be done at the CRNN. We have to use other facilities all over the campus, including those at the radiophysics and electronics, to complete the entire fabrication fabrication task. And then you go back to the darkroom, which I'm showing, in which you do the testing. So we do the entire process from development to fabricate to wafer level development, and then testing, and then fabrication of the device, and the testing of the device. The students go through the entire thing.
How much time it takes for a single test? I mean, testing for a sample with all these components. How long?
Months. It takes months. It takes weeks to months. It might take up to 3 months for the entire process to be over.
Now, how many university or institutes or center students are associated with it, other than University of Calcutta?
Okay, I have just a second. I have so if you in this slide in the bottom, you can see the collaborators now, and also we have the list of projects that we have. I'll come back to it. So our collaborators are, and here we are just talking about not. We are talking about joint projects. We have joint publications. We have sample exchanges. So we have collaborations with York University, which I think has had an MOU with the CRNN, and we had a common student, in the sense that one of our students, Alakananda Das, was guided both by me as well as some faculty, Shushanto Mitro from York University in Canada. We have a joint project with IFA Institute, which had a project during the COVID period, and we have sample exchanges with Arizona State. So that is outside the country. Within the country, we have sample exchanges and other joint publications with IIT Delhi, NPL, RRCAT, very serious collaboration with IG Kalpakkam. We also have samples grown by us for ISCS Calcutta. Our samples has been tested by DMRL, and we have tested samples at a darkroom from NIT Agartala. So we have a very large number of people who are linked with this facility.
So do you think that any other institutes in India, they do have this kind of facility other than northeast part, like ours?
There is no, to answer the question, MB, molecular beam epitaxy, exists at IIT Bombay, but they do not have the exact same facility. And also, other than that, there are molecular beam epitaxy systems at SSPL, Solid State Physics Laboratory, but they are the defense department. Obviously, they cannot collaborate with too many people because they have their own limitations.
We can say that in that sense, it is a unique center in the northeastern part of, not only in the northeastern part of India, but we may say that all over the India, it has a great impact.
Yes, it has.
Yeah.
I believe that we have one of the most unique facilities. The most important, as I kept saying a few minutes ago, we have the facility for the entire chain of device development. And so what happens is not only we do our own work, we can fabricate a few structures for the other people who then use it for testing other materials. We also have test systems so that people send their devices for testing at our facility. For example, IIT Delhi send their photo detectors to be tested at the darkroom and so on and so forth. It is really unique in that way.
Yeah. So what are the significant achievements in the last couple of years, you think, since its inception?
Okay. So here we are talking about some of the important outputs of the CRNN MB and optical lithography facility. So these are, okay, so coming from my background, I'm from the radio physics electronics, we are an engineering faculty. So we are more interested in development of devices which have societal applications rather than fundamental sciences. So our focus and the focus of the MBE so far has been to develop devices for various needs. And we developed the first quantum well-based wavelength selective photodetector in 2017. And these are UV photodetectors. They have, as you can see in the picture, they have a very, very narrow spectral width, and they can be used in many applications and in strategic as well as biomedical diagnostics. In the more recent past, we have developed, which probably is the first UV LED made in India, ultraviolet light emitting diode, made in India. We published it in 2020. And it was emitting, as you can see in the picture, in the wavelength range of 300 and 350 nanometers. We have also, even more recently, within the last 2 years, developed tunable UV LEDs, which are very important in healthcare and industrial applications. So this is where we are looking at the MB exclusively. So these are two devices which are made by both the MB and the optical lithography facility. But if you exclude the MB, the optical lithography facility has also been used to make ultraviolet MSM photodetectors based on zinc oxide materials. And also we have microelectromechanical systems, microfluidic systems work in which silicon microneedles, you can see the microneedles in the picture. These are used for drug delivery applications. And we also have made silicon microfluidic systems, microfluidic reactors, in which we tested nanoliter volumes of fluid. So overall, a very wide range of applications, and these are all directly beneficial, hopefully will be directly beneficial to society at large.
So what are your future plans with these instruments and about the research activities?
So as I was mentioning, the good things about the MBE, of course, the other side of the MBE is, of course, it is extremely expensive to run. Every sample in Indian rupees would be like 60 to 80,000 rupees. So we need a whole lot of projects. So far our projects have been on ultraviolet light emitting diodes, and we have a BRICS program in which we are collaborating with IOF Institute of Russia. And in continuing with that, we have received 2 more funding. So they have been awarded. I just received the news over the last couple of months. They have been awarded. One of them is for light emitting diodes for skin tolerant pathogen inactivation. So basically we are trying to make UV LEDs which you can shine on your hands to deactivate any pathogen which might be present on it. So this is a very unique kind of a device. We have the project funded by MHRD under the Scheme for Transformation and Advanced Research in Sciences. So that is one task that we have already been given. So we intend to work on that. We also have another project given to us by the DST iHub Quantum Technology Foundation. This is on silicon germanium quantum devices for quantum computing applications. So since these are already in the pipeline and the funding has already been awarded, total of 1 crore for over the three-year period. So that is exactly what we intend to do over the next few years.
So what I find that your instrument has a great impact, not only in the northeastern part of India, but all over India. And you have many future projects which shows the future direction is very bright and shining. So I hope that this instrument in future will serve in a more larger scale of users all over India and abroad also. So Professor Bhattacharya, many thanks for giving me your valuable time. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I just wanted to take 1 minute to point out that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 PhD scholars have been associated with the MBAs. They have been degrees have been awarded, and 2 more students are currently working. I just want to thank them because most of the work is done by them.
Yeah,
they've worked very hard over the years.
That is our ultimate motivation, that we should involve more PhD students and to produce high quality works with these instruments, and so that there is a great future of the instruments in Nano Center, and Nano Center will expand with a speedy rate, and it will be financially independent in a very short time. So we are all trying for that.
We are all trying
good,
for that.
Yeah, for good success of CRNN. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Now we have with us Dr. Auritra Banerjee. He is an assistant professor, Department of Physics, University of Calcutta, and he is also the coordinator of XRD and SQUID. Okay, Dr. Banerjee, we want to know that what is the full form of XRD?
Is X-ray diffractometer or X-ray diffraction. The basic science is X-ray diffraction, and the instrument that used this principle is X-ray diffractometer. So this is the X-ray diffractometer.
Okay, so let's start this.
So this is mostly one of the most basic instrument for sample characterization, structural characterization. So once you synthesis, so in our lab, so in basic science lab particularly, you synthesis samples. When you synthesis samples, then immediately you have to know its phase, the structure is formed, or you have to tune your the sample tuning process. Okay, so all these things, for that you need a X-ray diffractometer, and the pattern will tell you all the details. Okay, so from there you will be able to know that you have been able to synthesize the samples properly, or you need to tune your further, you need to tune your sample synthesis process. So finally the thing is that this will help us in structural characterization of the sample, phase purification, phase identification of the samples, whether you have been able to synthesize the samples in this pure form or some impurity phases are there. You have to define the structural synthesis process. So this is one of the most basic instrument for this. And for any lab where you synthesize samples, or even device, in a fabrication lab where you synthesize device, you have to have a structural idea. For that, this X-ray diffractometer is the most basic instrument.
With respect to the nano research.
Okay, so actually the physics of X-ray is very interesting. So we have the diffractometer, diffraction pattern. I will show you in this graph the diffraction pattern. So it has some peak. So this is the X-ray diffraction that gives the peak. Some peak will come in the diffractometer pattern. So with that peak you can identify, you will be able to identify the structure. Okay, now if it is nanostructure, then the peaks will be broadened. Peak shape will be broadened, peak height will go down, and finally from this you will be able to identify that the sample has nanomaterial, nano size grains. So then you will be able to calculate the grain size. So you will be able to confirm that the sample is actually in nano form or not.
What are the different components of XRD, and we want to show the functioning if possible?
Okay, it's possible. So I have my students Suchandra and Nobo. So they will also be able to say. So this is the X-ray diffractometer. So this is the X-ray diffractometer. So here actually you see you have kilovolt. This is 40 kilovolt and 30 milliampere. So there is an X-ray tube. For the X-ray tube, you need to have a particular high voltage and high current for generate the X-ray that was invented by Röntgen in around 1897, I think. So he was the first Nobel laureate in physics for this invention or discovery of this X-ray. Okay, so this needs high voltage. So we are generating high voltage. It has an X-ray generator that you cannot see. This is inside. We have a high voltage. That is the most costly and sensitive part of the instrument. This is high voltage, and it will generate the current also. Since nowadays, if you go on, I think it should be costing around 1 crore. So there are 2-3 companies in the world that manufacture this sophisticated. So this is the X-ray tube. Okay, there we generate this high voltage and current. So then it generates the X-ray, and we have X-ray. It is generating, but there is a shutter. These 3 sides, the shutters are closed, but here we have the shutter open. So from here, where do we want now? X-ray is generating, but shutter, you can see shutter is closed. If we put the shutter open, then there will be some indicator here, okay, or the shutter open light will glow. That means that X-ray is coming from here. So there is some slit arrangement, because if you have a torch, now you can see it here. So can we focus that one? So here there is a X-ray tube. From here X-ray will come and fall on the sample, but same like a torch. If we put on the torch, so the light ray will diverge. But the idea is that if it diverges, then you are losing the X-ray. So, and also that is harmful for you, for our body. So we should not lose. So there is some slit arrangement. So this is divergence slit. This is some solar slit. So there are several slit arrangement that restricts the sample path from being diverged. Then it goes on the sample. Then again, after interaction with the sample, it goes. There is a possibility of divergence. Again, you have to restrict the divergence by this slit arrangement. Okay. So this is called goniometer. This is the one arm of the goniometer. This is the other arm of the goniometer. This is the goniometer. One arm. This is the other arm of the goniometer. So now from here, this is one slit. I can show you this slit. So there are several slits like this. So you can control this slit. So how much sample, how much ray you want on this sample, you can control by this gap. Okay. So now the sample will fall here. They will demonstrate. The sample will fall here. Then the ray, then it will be collected by this slit again. Slit arrangement. There is this is the detector and fall on the detector. So detector will finally detect. This is a 1D detector. I am not going in the details. So this is a detector that detects the X-ray. So this is a powder sample. Powder sample means all the possibility. There is all the samples are the unit cell, cubic cell of the samples are oriented in all the angles. So for that you need to put the sample here, and we should. So there is a formula.
The dust.
Okay, this is a one particular sample. Okay, this is standard silicon sample, or this is a typical sample holder where there is this is zero background sample. So this is zero background sample holder. Zero background means from this background there will no X-ray will come. This is a highly amorphized material. No X-ray will come. No X-ray peak will come. So you can see a small depth. So we will put the sample, powder sample here. The sample, then after putting the sample, we can put it like this. Then once the shutter is on, X-ray will come here. It will interact, diffract, and go to this slit arrangement, this goniometer, and detector subsequently detect the X-ray. But this is a particular one configuration, so you have to check the all configuration. So that then now you can see it's theta to theta, means this is theta, this is 2 theta, this is 6 degree and 12 degree, but subsequently we will move this one theta, so detector will move at theta angle, and then they get the total X-ray data what all the temperature range, and subsequently all the angle, and subsequently we will get a peak like this. This is the intensity versus this variation 2 theta. So subsequently we will get a then once you analyze, this is the details. This is supplied by the company. So this is the details. So we will get a structure. We will be able to analyze. And this is the peak width I am telling. So this peak width will broaden and sharp depending upon the nanomaterial is present or not.
So at first we have to mount the sample like this and close the lid, close the door, that as the X-ray can come through the lid door, as it is protected glass.
This is a lead glass. X-ray is very harmful for our body, so we have to no X-ray should come out. So this is the lead glass that is protecting X-ray from coming out. So we have to close it. Then this shutter we have to put it on, but this is all software controlled. We will put the shutter on from this instrument. So Nabu, can you just put the shutter on? So that once you put it on, then we can see it here.
The indicator.
So here is some dedicated software. This will be the software to measure the data.
So quickly put the shutter on. The shutter is now is on. One means it's on. Otherwise it was nothing was there. So now the shutter is on. So X-ray is now coming out and getting is falling on the sample. So now we can waste the time. So we can show some standard data. So how the sample the X-ray these are standard data. Okay. So once you give the run for the whole angle scan, then one scan, after a typical scan, the data will look like this one. Then you can analyze peak structural analysis, and there are several techniques. And not going the details, you will be able to take the research.
How many universities or institutions join this for the sample test?
I think around, so apart from Calcutta University, we were able to cater samples of around another 13-14 universities and institutes throughout Calcutta. And several departments of our university depends on this instrument. This is the only instrument. Nowadays, some chemistry department has recently procured. Otherwise, this was for a long time. This was the only instrument that is catering to the researchers from the university.
How many PhD scholars have been awarded till 2000?
Okay, that exact data we don't have, because there are some groups in some places where people are doing dedicatedly X-ray for their thesis, but here people are doing PhD students are using a tool for synthesizing, for characterizing their samples. This is a tool. So in that sense, 88 PhD students, the last 5-6 years since it was installed in 2016, since its installation, around 88 PhD students has used this instrument. This much we can say, but it's not say by students. Say they use this instrument. This is 2 students who uses these instruments, but it's not that they are doing PhD only out of this instrument.
Placement status of this?
That also we cannot tell, because we don't have, because they are from several other departments and other universities. So this is they are doing for their part of the research work.
What do you think about your future possibilities?
Okay, actually this is a very sophisticated and important tool for sample characterization. So actually nowadays we used to go abroad. So we used to use regularly synchrotron facilities in Japan or there are several synchrotron facilities that Government of India is having. We use mostly because we don't have the low temperature characteristics. Okay, synchrotron has several other advantages, there are other dedicated tools. But apart from that, we for powder diffraction, even we can do. So we have the plan. Initially, we have the plan for attaching a low temperature part with these instruments. So with the low temperature part, we'll be able to study the structural change, if there is any structural change with temperature variation. And always a low temperature, the lowest temperature will give you the more better idea about your sample. So it's always emphasized that one can do low temperature characterization, so you will get a more clear idea about your samples. So if there are any structural change or not, depending on the temperature. So you have the plan initially to attach a low temperature attachment.
I want to know about the squid and weight.
Okay, you can go to this is the other building. You can go.
Okay, now we are in front of the squid basin. Sir, we want to know that what is the full form of squid?
S for superconducting, SQU, quantum interference device. So this is one of the most sophisticated technology for measuring the magnetic moment or magnetization of a system.
So what is the purpose of this?
So as I told, this is one of the most sophisticated instrument for measuring the magnetic structure, magnetic phase of the material, magnetization of the material. Means that it has a facility to scan from 2 Kelvin to room temperature 300 Kelvin, and any change in the very small amount of magnetic moment it can detect. So very sensitive instrument, and over the temperature change and field variation up to 12 Tesla, you can check what is the change in the magnetic property of the system. That all you can identify, even very feeble magnetic moment you can able to identify.
Why it is significant in the research of nanoscience?
Okay, so magnetic material itself shows a very peculiar behavior on temperature dependence, and even now if transfer it to the nanomaterial, then surface to volume ratio changes. The surface to volume ratio get enhanced. That means, so there is a huge possibility that magnetic phase, the magnetic structure will change, the magnetic property of the system will change. In that case, it is very sophisticated tool to identify what is the change in the magnetic moment or magnetic structure, magnetization of the magnetic properties of the material once you make from the bulk sample to nanomaterial.
Can we see it means the function of squid?
As of now, we cannot operate it because I can show you the different. This is the squid main instrument where you have this main sample probe. You can put it on. This is the sample holder. You can put it on the sample. It will go inside the sample chamber. This is the dewar, helium dewar. So actually during the lockdown, all the it is supposed to maintain, the basic system is supposed to maintain at 2 Kelvin, but during the lockdown throughout the year it's supposed to maintain, since there is some power failure and uninterrupted, we are not able to attend the instrument regularly, so the whole system evaporated particularly during Amphan, since there is several power failure for several days, so the whole system evaporated. After that we are unable to bring it back in working condition, but is at any moment it can bring back in working condition, provided we have to use the liquid helium gas. So it has the fantastic facility of converting this liquid gas it can use. Otherwise, some other systems are there, squid systems, where you use liquid helium, that is very costly. But here, these are helium cylinders. So this helium cylinder itself can cater this facility here. So this is we can once we pay the AMC, so since it is now out of this annual maintenance contract, so once we do it will again come back to the working condition and will be able of working in the full force, as it was one of the most productive instrument. So it was actually under Dr. Sudipta Bandyopadhyay, my colleague from physics department. So he was the coordinator since his inception, but there was some mishap in his family, so then I was requested to take the charge of this instrument. But after that it will again come back, we hope.
How many institutions are associated?
So this is a very sophisticated instrument. So we cannot, and also dedicated. So it's not that you just give a sample and study its magnetic property, because from the magnetic signal you have to extract the data. That is a very dedicated technique. So not everybody were capable of doing it. That's why we didn't. This is a restricted facility to some extent, and it has a very good output ratio in the form of paper publications. So it was used by around 5-6 instruments, 5-6 companies, or 5-6 institute or universities, apart from our university. So in our university, I think 5 or 6 departments regularly used it. So again another 1 crore. So this is nowadays, if you can go, no, I think it's more than that. Now if you want to go to buy a new instrument, so there is several things. So how many magnetic field you want? If it is 5 Tesla, the cost will be around 1.5 crore. So if you want for 5 Tesla, instead of 5 Tesla, if you want for 7 Tesla or 12 Tesla, then cost may go up to 4 crore. So depends upon how much output you want from the instrument. So temperature, it can go to 4 Kelvin, 2 Kelvin. If you want to go to 2 Kelvin, it will cost more because technology is different. So instead of again magnetic field, if you want to vary magnetic field up to 12 Tesla, then it will cost around 4 crore.
How many PhD scholars have been awarded?
So our logbook shows that around 33 PhD students have used this instrument, but it's not that they have only used instrument for their PhD, but around 33 PhD students from several departments of university and outside have used these instruments the last several years.
What are your planning for this?
Actually, first we have to make the instrument running, so it's not a very tedious job, so it is possible. So once it's running in its full form, then we have the plan. So if we can make some separate attachment, then it can be used for measuring some other physical properties also. So then also from nanomaterial perspective, if you can measure other physical properties like resistivity or Hall coefficient or these physical parameters, then it will be very useful, and hope if we can do it, it will be very exciting also.
Thank you for this overview. Good afternoon, everyone. Today we have with us Dr. Prasun Mukherjee. He is a faculty of CRNN, subject chemistry, and he is also the coordinator of spectroscopic equipment. Sir, we want to know that what is spectroscopic equipment?
Yes, sure. Spectroscopy is basically the study of interaction of radiation with matter, and in different spectral ranges we shine the molecule or the nanomaterials with that particular spectral range, and then we get information about different kinds of physical properties and chemical properties of the system. So currently we have in this lab of CRNN, we have 3 different spectrometers. One is absorption spectrometer, another is photoluminescence spectrometer, the third one is Fourier transform infrared spectrometer.
So please explain the function of absorption spectrometer.
So coming to the first one, the absorption spectrometer, which we are seeing here, which we have procured from Perkin-Elmer. The company's name is Perkin-Elmer. Here what we do is, we have our sample in solution or in solid state, basically primarily in solution. Then we shine the system with the radiation, the source, and then we collect the absorption profile of the sample. From that, one can determine the basic usefulness of absorption spectrometer is to get the concentration of a solution, and then in the context of nanomaterial, what we can also do is to determine the band gap of the nanomaterial, which can be used to get the size of the material. For example, here what we can see is a typical spectrum of a molecule coumarin 153 dissolved in methanol. and one can clearly see that this is a baseline, and then there is a drastic peak which is shown around 420 nanometer. So what that means is the sample is absorbing the radiation of 420 nanometer, and from there, if we know the molar extinction coefficient, one can determine the concentration of the solution.
Sir, please, we want to know about the photoluminescence spectrum.
So next here we have the photoluminescence spectrometer. So as we have seen in the previous instrument, we have seen the absorption spectrometer. That means the electron from the ground energy level is excited to the higher lying electronic energy level. So basically, in the higher lying electronic energy level, the electron will not be residing forever, it will be coming back. And when it is coming back, it can shine radiation, and that is kind of combined photoluminescence, the photo-induced luminescence, collectively the fluorescence and phosphorescence. So here what we do is we place our sample in this compartment here, and then shine the sample with the source lamp. And then there are two channels here. In one channel, we collect the emission in the UV visible spectrum range, ultraviolet visible spectrum range. And in this part, we can collect emission in the near infrared spectrum range. So in this setup, luckily, we have the entire range of ultraviolet visible and near infrared spectrum range. Over in the absorption spectrometer also, we can go up to near infrared spectrum range. And here, we can collect the emission from the solution phase as well as from a solid sample, and then we can also do typical temperature dependent measurements, anisotropic measurements, and so on and so forth. And we are also equipped with not only the steady state excitation and emission spectroscopy, we are also equipped with a pulsed excitation source, which basically implies that we can avail a delay time and a gate time to collect the longer lifetime decay profiles. And also we have another setup which is called time correlated single photon counting. Based on that, one can determine the lifetime of the fluorophores in the picosecond time scale, picosecond nanosecond time scale as well. So the third spectrometer which we have in our laboratory is called the Fourier transform infrared spectrometer. Here, basically, we monitor the absorption profile of two energy levels which are vibrational origin. So between two energy levels which are two vibrational energy levels within the electronic energy level, that absorption we monitor here. And the basic usefulness of this instrument is one can get information about the different functional groups present in a molecule. Okay. So for example, water has OH functionality, OH bond, we can determine from here. Methanol has OH bond, we can determine from here. So that kind of information we can get from the infrared absorption spectroscopy. Now in the context of nanomaterials, oftentimes nanomaterials require surface functionality. So this surface functionalization means on the nanomaterial surface we have different molecules, and those molecules are typically organic molecules, and they have their typical bond vibrational frequencies. So like for example, we are seeing a spectrum here in the screen, and we can see that this is a baseline, and from there are a couple of dips. So these dips are in the transmittance profile. These dips mean that at those frequencies the molecule or the system is absorbing the infrared radiation. And from the characteristic frequencies, one can say that this molecule or this system has this kind of functional groups present in that nanomaterial or the molecule.
Sir, we came to know about the spectrometers. Now our question is that how many PhD scholars have been awarded till now?
Okay, coming to this question, this is a very important part, that basically CRNN is a central facility. Okay, so being a central facility, the students from different research laboratories spanning in the college, the Rajabazar campus and the Baliganj Science College campus, they oftentimes visit here to perform their experiments. And typically we have served students from 13 departments from the Calcutta University in the absorption spectrometer and the infrared absorption spectrometer. And in the photoluminescence spectrometer, 9 students from 9 departments from the University of Calcutta, they have used this facility.
Okay. So how many modes are there?
With regard to these instruments, there are no modes as such, but typically different, not only from the University of Calcutta, students from the other nearby institutions, they also visit and perform the experiments with these facilities.
Sir, what are your future plans regarding this?
So basically, number one is being from a chemistry background, what I do or my research group does is basically we synthesize nanomaterials based on typical chemical synthesis routes, and then we characterize them based on electron microscopy. We see the nanomaterials first, and then I generally focus on the detailed experimentation on the spectroscopic aspects.
Okay.
So for that, once I make the material, then I go to typically sequentially higher spectrometer to characterize the surface of the nanomaterial. Then I go to the absorption spectrometer to get the concentration and to determine the band gap, etc. Then extensively I devote time to characterize the steady state and time-gated, time-resolved photoluminescence spectroscopy in the photoluminescence spectrometer. Okay. So basically this is a coherent picture. All these using all these facilities at CRNN under one umbrella gives a coherent picture of a sample. Now this is from my research background that I work in doped inorganic nanomaterials currently, lanthanide, specifically lanthanide doped inorganic nanomaterials. And regarding different samples, different students that I have encountered being the facility coordinator here, students came up here with membranes to characterize what is the composition of the membrane, and different samples which are directly related to biological samples like fish samples, etc., etc. They characterize here. Then with regard to luminescence, students have come who are interested in making sensors of different metal ions like iron, lead, etc. And so these are a couple of different applications now using these facilities. So not only my research area overlaps with this, as I mentioned, lot of students from the different departments, they visit here, come here, and they perform the experiments.
Okay, so thank you.
Thank you very much.
Today we have lots of information from Dr. Mukherjee and hope it will help students a lot. Thank you once.
Thank you very much once again.
Cluster computer in CRNN. The HPC of CRNN is comprised of one master and 32 slave nodes. The nodes are connected to each other by ultra-fast InfIBand switch. Each node has 8 cores which can be utilized at a time by exploiting hyper-threading technology. Therefore, altogether the cluster has 256 cores. The RAM of each node is 16 GB. A separate storage unit having the capacity of 80 TB is also a part of this HPC. The OS of the cluster is Red Hat Enterprise 6.0.
hopeful then, gentlemen of the jury, as to death, and this one thing hold fast, that to a good man, whether alive or dead, no evil can happen, nor are the gods indifferent to this well-being.